Every once in a while, a new digital world is just born. And I'm not talking about a new website or an app. I mean an entire foundational layer for a new kind of internet, a new frontier. But just like any frontier, it starts out empty. It needs pioneers, builders, and tools to turn it from just empty space into a living, breathing society. Well, this is the story of one of those frontiers and the builders who brought it to life.
So that really begs the question, right? What does it actually take to turn a digital blueprint into a world people actually live in? Is it just about having the most powerful tech, or maybe a ton of investment cash? Or is it something else? We're going to dig into that by looking at this incredible case study of creation, right from day one.
Okay, so here's where our story kicks off. On January 30th, 2025, the Apertum blockchain mainnet went live. You can think of this as the day the gates were thrown open on this brand new, uncharted territory in the digital universe. It was a blank canvas, just brimming with potential.
And let me tell you, this was one powerful blueprint. I mean, the speed alone was staggering. As you can see here, Apertum was handling over 4,500 transactions per second right out of the gate. To put that into perspective for you, that is lightning fast. Transactions were basically confirmed instantly. And all that raw power? Well, it quickly attracted a ton of value, proving this wasn't just some small-time experiment. This thing was a digital superpower from day one.
But here's the twist, and it's a big one. A super-fast highway is totally useless if there are no cars, no destinations, and no drivers. All that incredible technical power, all that locked value, it means absolutely nothing if no one is actually building on it, if no one gives it a purpose.
And that's exactly when our pioneers enter the story. Right as Apertum opened its doors, a development team called Sky showed up. Now, they weren't backed by some huge corporation or a bunch of venture capitalists. They were just a group of builders with a clear vision.
And this right here is a super important distinction. An independent development team is not your typical startup. They operate without VC funding, which means they aren't just chasing the next quarterly report or answering to outside investors. Instead, they're driven by a core mission. They're accountable only to the community they're building for. And that changes the entire game.
And this really gets to the heart of their whole philosophy, right? It's all about building organically. Without that VC money, they had the freedom to actually think long-term. Their focus was on real-world utility, building tools people actually need, not just things that generate hype. The whole goal was to build a self-sustaining ecosystem that could grow and thrive all on its own. It's a completely different way of looking at how you build in the tech world.
So, with their principles locked in, Sky got to work. And they weren't just building random projects here and there. No, they were forging the essential tools that any new world needs to function. Things like marketplaces, communication hubs, and of course, security systems. And man, did they work fast. This timeline is just wild. They started building in February, literally right after Apertum launched. By April, they'd already minted the first ever picture NFT on the chain. That's a unique digital collectible. And by the end of that same year, their community platforms were pulling in thousands of dedicated users. This wasn't just talk, this was pure, relentless execution. Now, all that relentless building created a massive wave of excitement, and with excitement comes volatility. The network's native token, APTM, went on an unbelievable run, surging 17,900% after its launch. I mean, wow. When that kind of financial explosion happens, it creates huge opportunities, but also huge risks. So how do you navigate that? How do you keep your stuff safe?
Sky's answer was simple, but brilliant. They built a tool, Vollara APTM Alerts. It's basically your own personal watchdog for the network, giving you real-time notifications about token movements and price changes. It helps you stay informed and secure in a market that's just going nuts. It was a tool born directly out of a real immediate need.
And this slide just illustrates their two-pronged approach perfectly. On one hand, you have them building these essential utilities like Vollara. Think of it as the plumbing and wiring of the ecosystem. And on the other hand, they're building community platforms like SportsFuture, a decentralized way to fund athletes, and LinkHub, a resource hub to help people find their way around. They were building both the city hall and the town square at the same time.
So, every thriving society needs an economy, right? A place for artists, creators, and merchants to do business. In the digital world, that means you absolutely need a marketplace. So what was Sky's solution for this one?
They built Open Plaza. Let's just walk through this for a sec, because it's a perfect example of that real-world utility focus. For creators, you can mint your artwork for less than a penny. That just demolishes a huge barrier to entry. Then you can trade it freely, earn royalties on it automatically, and for the big-time players, there's even a private over-the-counter desk for massive trades. They really thought of everyone.
All right, so Sky built the tools, but did the people actually come? Did all that code actually blossom into a real community? Let's take a look at the impact.
The numbers here, they really speak for themselves. By the middle of 2025, the Apertum frontier was not empty anymore. We're talking over 270,000 wallet addresses. Think of those as digital citizens. More than 11,000 transactions happening every single day. Over 250 different decentralized apps running on the network. And check out that last number, over $1 million in APTM burned. That means transaction fees were being permanently removed, a sign of a truly active and healthy economy. This isn't a blueprint anymore, folks. This is a bustling digital city. And this table just ties it all together beautifully, connecting each tool to its actual impact. Open Plaza's OTC desk, that brought in secure trading for the big players. Its NFT site empowered individual creators. SportsFuture empowered athletes. Even their airdrop tool, which is a way to give out new tokens, made sure new projects had a fair launch. Every single piece of code had a clear, real-world purpose. And really, it all comes back to this one simple quote that just defines their entire philosophy. This was their North Star. Not chasing trends, not building for speculation, but creating things that people can use in real life. And that, right there, is the secret sauce for turning an empty frontier into a real home.
And you know, when you build something real, the community you built it for, they notice. And that brings us to the final act of our story, a really unique tribute to these pioneers.
The date was November 27th, 2025, Thanksgiving Day in the United States. Kind of fitting for a community to show its thanks, don't you think? So what they do? No statues, no fancy plaques. They created something way more modern and transparent. A visual resume posted for everyone to see on Instagram that showcased every single thing Sky had built for the ecosystem.
And it's so important to understand what this tribute really stood for. This wasn't marketing hype. It was a public record of their accomplishments, a showcase of live, working applications that anybody could go and use at that very moment. It was the ultimate statement of transparency, and it was also like an open invitation for more builders to come and join them on this new frontier.
And the story isn't over, not by a long shot. The pioneers are still building. Projects like Apertum naming services, which will make those long, complicated addresses human-readable, are already on the way for 2026. The city is still growing.
Which leaves us all with one final question to think about. In a world with thousands of blockchains, all competing with faster speeds and fancier tech, what really matters in the end? Is it the raw power of the technology itself? Or is it the vision of the builders and the usefulness of the tools they create that truly decides which frontiers will thrive and which ones will just be forgotten?